AI is making cyber attacks faster and cheaper, and Asia-Pacific governments are trying to keep up despite a 56% cybersecurity workforce shortfall. To unpack what changed and what to prioritize next, we are joined by Dr. Peter Finn from Vertical Institute, Angela Zhao from Gartner, and Anthony Wong from Rockwell Automation. Welcome to you three. So let me start with this. What made cyber attacks more automated and faster the past year?
Cyber attacks have accelerated and become more automated, of course, largely because of the introduction of generative AI and sophisticated AI-driven hacking tools. These have exacerbated a lot of threats that have and vulnerabilities that have already existed, vulnerabilities in the form of basic security gaps, outdated systems, unpatched software. Which previously hackers had to spend a lot more time on trying to find. This also means that through automation, hackers are able to effectively target a lot of other types of systems and victims that would not normally be targeted because they were not considered to be worth necessarily the time and the effort. So AI has really increased the number of potential targets that hackers can go after.
I think cyber attacks became more automated and faster because it's almost become a service. It's a highly industrialized model now where you can also, engage phishing as a service or ransomware as a service. So, for cyber attackers, really the barrier to entry is much lower now. And I guess the second thing that's also accelerating is governments and companies are accelerating their digital transformation, which basically means they're connecting more of their enterprise systems to their physical assets like machines and fleets, which is really increasing that attack surface area. As the last thing that's also increasing it is that obviously, impersonation and phishing and AI is becoming so much smarter. So it's really hard to tell whether things are real or things are fake. So I'd say attackers are not necessarily getting smarter, but they're leveraging these tools to make things happen a lot quicker.
According to the research by Fortinet, their labs observed billions of scans each month. That is 36,000 scans per second, which is very horrible. Attackers also use AI to generate extremely convincing phishing emails that mimic a colleague's style and reference specific online details. This increases both speeds and success rates of social engineering campaigns. And the second one would be related to the automation of attack tooling and services. Currently, there are cybercrime as a service, ransomware as a service in the market. Those made advanced tools widely available, lowered technical barriers and costs for attackers, allowing even low-skill actors to run automated campaigns. And thirdly, we have observed that in many attacks, organizations have gaps in visibility, detection, and response that let automated attacks succeed faster. And lastly, there are significant shortage of specialized security talents and operational readiness.
You mentioned quite a number of examples there, but out of everything, what cyber threats should governments in Asia Pacific prioritize most in 2026?
Governments must anticipate machine speed attacks that overwhelm human-paced defense. Governments should also prioritize AI native threats such as deepfake, adversarial prompting, compromise of AI systems that will cause operational errors. Gartner recommends risk assessments for AI agent deployments, strict access control to external tools and MCP servers, and continuous behavior monitoring. The second biggest threat is about software supply chain and third party. Gartner recommends prioritizing software supply chain visibility, harden audits and contractual requirements for vendor security and business continuity. And the third biggest threat is about geopolitical tensions, which creates supply chain impacts. Governments in Asia-Pacific region are now building sovereign AI infrastructure. For example, domestically hosted supercomputing clusters. This creates new high-value targets for cyber attacks. And the fourth biggest threat would be ransomware. Ransomware activities had an about 40 to 50% year-on-year increase. Ransomware actors will weaponize AI, so governments should prioritize defenses and resilience for public services and critical systems.
One thing that has always been kind of a threat that governments have to face are threats to secure critical infrastructure. So these would be things like energy grids, healthcare systems, communications infrastructure, and so forth. And we've started to see, what can happen through a range of expanding geopolitical, crises around the world, from wars in Ukraine to the conflict between Gaza and Israel, and of course many other places. What can happen when these infrastructure systems are targeted by sophisticated threat acts, but also just really common ransomware, phishing attacks. These have really not gone away either. These ransomware phishing attacks continue to evolve. We're now seeing an increasing use of deep fakes, as we call them, where people can use AI avatars, where people can use simulated voices to try to trick people into installing software or engaging with websites that might steal credentials. And governments are as subject to this and as targeted in this way as multinational corporations and SMEs and the like.
When you think about utilities and power grids, transport, for example, electricity and anything that's around critical infrastructure should definitely be number one. Number two would be supply chain. We really noticed the disruption during COVID, what really could happen. So really looking at weaknesses in the supply chain and focusing on that. I think thirdly is just I mentioned about this phishing as a service and how advanced AI is becoming impersonation. It is really looking at identity theft and credential checking. So they're probably the key things. And I think governments also start to accelerate their digital transformation. Generally, the corporate IT network is pretty well established. And what's new is now that we're connecting to assets and people and OT systems, a lot of those physical assets have been around for a long time. So we don't turn them over like laptops every 2 or 3 years. They turn over maybe every 15, 20, 30 years. So even before cyber was an issue, they used to be quite disconnected. So now that we're connecting those systems to try to get more of that productivity, it's actually increased vulnerabilities because many of those attacks are now coming in through those older systems and working their way up into those IT systems.
And aside from the threats, let's also go to the cybersecurity talent gap. How can governments close this gap fast?
The workforce transformation from, education, universities, all the way through to current workforce. And secondly, working with the ecosystems with people that are doing it every day. I think from a workforce point of view, one of the things is that because it's such a specialized area, you actually find that there's a lot of people in government and in industry, that are having an IT background or engineering background or policy that, with some really targeted training, they could really expand the pool of cyber specialists to help this gap. And obviously you want to get people that are coming in from universities and early talent, making sure, they're prepared. So through academia and partnerships. And I'd say that last piece is probably looking at experts that can help, bring their expertise into government to really complete, the talent gaps that we might have.
Of course, upskilling is part of it. Additional hands-on training, actual engagement with real attack simulations, developing practical cybersecurity skills, not just theoretical understandings of cybersecurity, which a lot of training has traditionally focused on. And we need to bring more people who already have the base skills in things like IT and engineering into the cybersecurity fold. So leveraging people who already have that and improving their cybersecurity skills is important. But also, one of the things that we see is just ordinary people have an incentive really to kind of up their game when it comes to their cyber skills, cybersecurity skills, and their proficiency. So cybersecurity is not just something that you want to leave to a group of highly trained, professionals. It is a set of skills and awarenesses and practices that really achieve their greatest impact when they are diffused as widely as possible.
That has been a very insightful discussion. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Peter, Angela, and Anthony.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on the program.
Thanks for having us.
Once again, those were Dr. Peter Finn, generative AI and cybersecurity instructor at Vertical Institute, Angela Zhao, senior director analyst from Gartner, and Anthony Wong, vice president, secure digital operations for Asia Pacific at Rockwell Automation. For more news, visit govmedia.com.